Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Tuesday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields on a Grand Traverse Tuesday, sponsored by the Traverse City Convention and Visitors Bureau. We're live this morning in the American Metal Roof Studio, just a couple blocks from the Capitol, where I'm told later today the governor's going to sign his first couple of bills. Gary Austin, you're going to bring us the news this morning, brought to you by
our friends, our new friends, American Metal Roof. It's the new crew out there at AmericanMetalRoofs.com. Check them out, AmericanMetalRoofs.com. You'll never have to worry about the weather with a beautiful, guaranteed American Metal Roof.
And
so there you have it. Hey, are you a happy guy?
What kind of a question is that? It's Mardi Gras today. Everybody's happy today, right?
Of course you are.
Mardi Gras.
And we have the unmistakable scent of Punchkis.
Yeah.
And the, unmistakable trail of Punchki powder.
Do you speak French?
Parlez-vous français?
Do you know what Mardi Gras means in French?
Ein bisschen? No, that's German. No, I have no idea.
Mardi Gras means Fat Tuesday.
It means a big gras.
No, it's
it's a happy gras.
Fat Tuesday, also called Shrove Tuesday in English tradition. It's because everybody eats richer, fatty foods. They know tomorrow, Ash Wednesday, the curtain comes down and everybody starts fasting.
So that's the deal. So you don't eat anything tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow is fasting.
So the idea is to really pack up today. So you won't feel like, eat all those punchkis. You won't feel like eating anything for Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Yeah, you let it all go. And the cities most famous for that are Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll go live to New Orleans a little bit later. And the other city famous for it is Hamtramck, Michigan.
Very good.
They call it Punchki Day there.
Very, very
tradition.
Back to my original question, young man.
Yes?
Are you a happy guy?
Well, yes.
Of course you are with all this Punchki chatter.
What's not to be happy about?
Well, I tell you what. Did you know, they did, there's a survey for everything, and they try to figure out the happiest state in the country, and Hawaii comes in number one. And take a guess which state is dead last when it comes to happiness collectively.
You're not going to say Michigan, are you?
Yep.
Oh.
Gallup Healthways Well-Being Index, that's what this thing is called. And, I guess Hawaii number one, obvious reasons.
We better cheer people up this morning then, don't you think?
Yeah, I know. We've got to, we always do. We may have to go do a little bit.
We might have to call the New Palace Bakery in Hamtramck. They always make people smile.
I cannot understand.
Maybe we can call them right now before it gets too busy there, because they have a line out the door for people to get punchki. And you remember every year when we speak to the New Palace Bakery, they're whooping it up there.
They are.
So that'll give everybody a little cheer.
Don't they start doing this 2 days ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they have to.
What are we so glum about?
Well, I don't know. It didn't break down the specifics, but coming in second place when it comes to happiness, Wyoming and North Dakota, for whatever reason. Okay. The least happy state, Michigan, followed by Louisiana and Nevada.
What?
Nevada is the third least happy.
Wait a minute. Louisiana's where? Well, they've had the trouble with the hurricane.
Yeah.
But they have New Orleans and they have Bourbon Street and all that.
Yeah.
And Nevada's got Las Vegas.
Yeah, I don't get it. In any event,
they got shows and in restaurants and they got gambling too.
Yep, it's called the Gallup Healthways.
They even have prostitution in Nevada. Why wouldn't they be happy?
Gallup Healthways. The Gallup Healthways Well-Being Index said so. So that is the latest. Hey, guess what's going on at the Capitol today? I bet you'll never guess what's going to happen.
Some people, more unhappy people.
Maybe that's why. So many people are protesting at the Capitol, and that's why we're unhappy. In any event, another rally. You got that right. Union leaders in Michigan protesting bills that would give more power to emergency financial managers. Here's the big deal about this. Now, Governor Snyder's a big fan of this sort of thing, having a select group of folks go into any particular area, whether it be a city, a school district, you name it. And if things aren't being done right, if they're, for example, if they're behind on their bills and things aren't just really shaken out as good as they should, as well as the governor can tell, he wants the wherewithal to send in his crew to kind of make things right again. And that has labor unions and others very upset. So they're going to complain about that today on the front lawn of the state capitol. U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow, she is a very unique politician. She's been a politician in this area for a long time, started out in local politics in Lansing. Now she's been in Congress for a long time. And technically, Debbie Stabenow has never lost a political campaign. Everything she's run for, she's won with one exception. She ran as Howard Wolpe's lieutenant governor once against John Engler and lost there. But aside from that, Debbie Stabenow has a squeaky clean record when it comes to winning things.
General,
politically.
You're not counting primaries then, I guess.
Yeah, no, just for winning, for the big job she sets her sight at, whether it be on the state level, whatever, she always ends up getting it. However, we do have a serious contender for the first time. Some analysts are saying we have the fellow who heads up the Michigan Family Forum, the founder of that, and he's a very well-known man in the Grand Rapids area. His name is Randy Heckman, and he is challenging Debbie Stabenow. Heckman hopes to win the GOP nomination in the race for 2012. He wants to try to win that congressional seat. He made it clear, a statement on his website.
You know who said
he's
not
focusing
running?
on creating jobs and reforming the budget.
Justin Amash, the new congressman in West Michigan, 30 years old. There were some people thinking he should go ahead and take on Debbie Stabenow. He's saying thank you, no thank you. He appreciates the support, but he's going to stay where he is.
Yep, Heckman is also, by the way, he's the executive pastor of Crossroads Bible Church in Grand Rapids.
The federal government, are they going to take away our ability to talk on the phone while we're in the cars?
I don't know. It looks like, according to this study, all this business is going to be put on hold for some reason, cracking down on the use of hands-free devices in cars. According to Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood, he will not be calling for any restrictions on phones or devices, like Ford's Sync system.
Yep.
Pending more research.
Even though it's hands-free, they were thinking of maybe taking it away because it distracts you from driving.
Some say, yes, it is still a distraction, but
they're not ready to make that step just yet.
That would be, I think many would say, that's a big reach for the federal government to start telling Ford, GM, Chrysler what they can and can't do when it comes to technology in their cars. But when it comes to safety, some may say the government, someone's got to do it. If the perception is the auto companies aren't, then somebody has to, and many would say that responsibility eventually does rest with our governmental agencies.
I'll tell you a guy who is happy today. Rick Snyder, the governor, is going to sign his first 2 bills into law, the very first time he gets to do it. House Bill 4212 and Senate Bill 112, and they strengthen the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program. And Debbie Stabenow would be happy for that. She's chair of the Agriculture Committee.
Well, we have a lot of attention being paid to Wall Street today, and you figure out why the Dow and NASDAQ, S&P, boy, all losing ground.
Down 80 yesterday, the Dow, S&P down 11, and NASDAQ down 39. It's got to do with unrest in the Middle East, doesn't it?
It sure does, and the high oil prices, again, did you know oil hit a 29-month high? And also, too, for those who really, there are a lot of folks, I bet you a lot of folks listening right now who are big fans of gold, and they're stocking up. They say, why not? Gold set a record $1,300 an ounce. Often that happens. We get the unrest in other financial areas. Gold always seems to do well whenever that happens.
There's some talk that Saudi Arabia might experience political unrest next. And if that happens, man, I don't know. I'd be frightened.
So Saudi Arabia, is there some concern what the governmental situation there isn't to a lot of people's liking? So
and that's one of the things that's scaring the market, because that could have a huge impact, as you know, on the gas and oil prices.
We have a new video out, and it shows probably the most up-close footage ever of the Twin Towers.
I saw
right
that.
after. You did?
Yeah, it was from a news helicopter.
Yes, brand new. What'd you see?
The eerie thing was the chopper flies right over the top of the towers before they collapse, after they've already been hit by the airplane.
Wow.
And so there was a chopper hovering right over the roof before it fell.
Was this like super up close?
Well, yeah, it could have. I mean, it could have landed. It was that close on the top of the tower.
Oh, man. The video itself, though, I mean, did it really get, did it show everything?
You just see it from, like nearby the tower and looking down on it from the helicopter.
It was a New York Police Department chopper, we understand. And it just happened to be there at the time this happened, sort of backing away from the Twin Towers. And just before, the terribly started crumbling. And one guy in the chopper on this video was heard saying, it's gone. Yeah. The whole tower, it's gone.
There was a dogfighting ring in Monroe County. Can you believe that?
A dogfighting ring in Monroe County.
Yeah,
what's that about?
Some people from Belleville and Detroit are arraigned on charges of attending and participating in a dogfight. 24 suspects involved from Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Georgia, Missouri. We think that stuff only happens in other parts of the world, in the Michael Vick parts of the world, but it happened right here in Michigan. The
Fenville
pit bulls were fighting.
Yeah, the Fenville boys basketball team here. Got to mention this here before we head to the break. The perfect season is intact. Fenville won its game last night, 65-54 over Lawrence. This was a championship playoff game. And remember Fenville, star
Days
player
after
Wes Leonard passing away. Yeah, so
hit
in
the
any
game-winning shot last Thursday,
Yep,
dropped
last Thursday.
dead of a heart attack. And
Yep.
can you imagine, there were 3,500 people there yesterday at DeVos Fieldhouse
Yep.
in Holland.
Yes, by the way,
And-
Wes Leonard's funeral is today, by the way.
Okay, and they had former Loyola Marymount star Bo Kimball there.
Yeah.
You'll remember that Bo Kimball witnessed something like this happen before, and we'll
Yeah.
hear his audio, and we're going to talk later with people who were at that game yesterday. He's Gary Austin, the anchorman. I'm Michael Patrick Shields. We're back in a flash. 22 minutes after the hour, live from the American Metal Roost studio, just down the street from the Capitol, on Punchki Day, or Mardi Gras, or Fat Tuesday, or Shrove Tuesday. Gary Austin referred to yesterday the Fenville story, is what we sort of call it. It's the Fenville Blackhawks boys basketball team. And their star, Wes Leonard, Thursday hit a game-winning shot for Fenville. You know this by now. It's made national attention and won the game. Kept a perfect 20-0 season for Fenville, but then died right there on the court of a heart attack. And yesterday, after much discussion, the Fenville team decided to play its high school playoff game. Because of the interest, they moved the game to Hope College's DeVos Fieldhouse in Holland, and 3,500 people showed up for this game. Now, I understand 4 people. They sent out 4 starters instead of 5 in honor of Wes Leonard. And the people that attended the game and the players were addressed by the former Loyola Marymount star Bo Kimball. And you'll remember that he watched Hank Gathers die on the court back in 1990. Here's what he said.
The only relief we had was when we were playing the game, to put all the sorrow, all the energy and everything that we felt, put it into our play.
Perhaps that's what happened yesterday, because Fenville won the game 65-54 over Lawrence. The funeral for Leonard will take place today in Holland, and Bo Kimball talked to the Fenville boys and the Lawrence boys too, after all. And here's more of what he said.
I think that if West teammates do the same, they're going to play very well. If they're playing for their loving memory and honoring him, they're going to play very well.
And that's exactly what they did yesterday. And we're going to talk with Bill Simonson, who was in that gym yesterday, about how all of that went, coming up in about half an hour. It's 25 minutes after the hour. Let's say hello this morning to a guy who's very busy and nice enough to spend a couple of minutes with us. Greg Garner is back. He's the general manager of Sweetwater's Donut Mill in Kalamazoo on this Punchki Day, Fat Tuesday. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. How you doing over there today?
Well, it's a tradition, isn't it? And it's come late this year. Easter has, or Ash Wednesday has. And how many Punchki will you put through Sweetwater's today?
Well, I was just figuring it out while I was at home. It's probably going to be between about 8,000 to 10,000 per store this morning. So,
10,000 a store.
Yeah, it's our biggest day of the year, and yeah, it is late this year. I think it's about 3 weeks. Last year it was February 16th, so it's about 3 weeks later this year.
That's
And
unbelievable.
it's a great day for it. It's going to be nice weather, and it's going to be a wonderful day.
There are people who say a Punchki, that's the same as a donut. Is that true?
No. If you saw them made, there's a lot more. God, I almost hate to tell you exactly what's in them, but
Secret
there's-
recipe.
There's a lot more good stuff. Let's put it that way. We put twice as much filling. It's 1.5 ounces of filling per punchki. We've got more sugar, more shortening, and they're bigger. And we're actually featuring the prune filling this year, which we haven't traditionally done in the past. And
Prune is the traditional, I mean, it might not be the most desirable, but it is a traditional filling, isn't it?
yeah, that's not something we're going to sell during the regular year, but we've had a lot of people ask about it this year, and we thought we would do it. We're not a traditional, kind of Polish area here, but
Yeah.
we had a lot of people ask about it. I think they're kind of curious about it, and so
Well,
we are featuring those this year. And
Let's put it this way. We'll see how that works out, right?
That's exactly right. We may have a lot left, or we may sell out of them, one or the other. So,
If you'll pardon the pun. What is the favorite flavor?
I'll tell you, for us, Bavarian, we sell a lot of cherry and a lot of Bavarian. I'd say
Yeah.
those are probably the two for us. And then another one that's popular is apple. So, pretty much any of the fruit flavorings, we
Yeah.
pretty much have any fruit you can imagine.
Well, happy Punchki Day to you and everybody there. I'm sure there'll be a big line at Sweetwater's if there isn't already. And
But we're also giving away Mardi Gras beads with each purchase. So it's kind of a festive day today.
You bet they're going to have fun at Sweetwater's, Greg, and we'll see you down there in Kalamazoo. For all of our listeners on WKMI, Donald Rumsfeld, the former Secretary of Defense, Rummy they call him, is joining us on the air.
Well, I was indeed, and he's a fine man, talented, and he went on to become senator and minority leader of the United States Senate.
So did you get your initial appreciation for the state of Michigan all the way back then? Did you spend much time in the district when you were working for Congressman Griffin?
Well, I didn't, but I used to have a house in Castle Park, Michigan, just north of Saugatuck there.
Nice spot. I bet you there are some days you wish you were back in that house, huh?
Oh, yes, indeed. It's a lovely part of the world, and, of course, my home is Chicago, just on the other side of Lake Michigan.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about Gerald Ford, if you don't mind? After all, you were his chief of staff, you were his Secretary of Defense. You'll be in his museum just a few yards from his gravesite tonight. What was your relationship with him like?
Well, I met Congressman Gerald Ford back in 1962 when I was elected to the United States Congress. And one of the first things I did was Bob Griffin came to me and said he was helping Jerry Ford run for conference chairman of the Republican Party in the United States House of Representatives, and he wanted me to gather some votes from the freshman members who'd just been elected. So before I'd even been sworn in, Bob Griffin was after me, and I was helping Gerald R. Ford become elected the conference chairman. And then 2 years later, Bob Griffin and Charlie Goodell and Bob Ellsworth and I kind of managed Ford's campaign for the minority leadership, which propelled Gerald Ford into national prominence and undoubtedly led to his ultimately being selected as Vice President of the United States.
You know, we know a lot about your history, and we'll read a lot about it in Known and Unknown, a memoir with President George W. Bush. But what kind of president was President Ford? You were, behind closed doors with him.
Well, I talk about it in the book, and he was of all the presidents that I worked with, he was the one who was a personal friend. Having served in Congress with him, I knew him well, and when he was vice president and it looked as though Richard Nixon was going to resign, he called and asked me to, I was U.S. ambassador to NATO at the time, living in Belgium, and he called and asked me to fly back to the United States to assist him as he took over the presidency the next day. And I flew in that night and arrived in just as he was being sworn in as the only man who became president of the United States, never having run for vice president or president. And if you think back to those days, those of us that are old enough to do that, it was a tough time. The White House was in disrepute, and the reservoir of trust in the country had been drawn down. And this wonderful human being, Gerald Ford, I guess he was the only Boy Scout, Eagle Scout to ever serve in the presidency, was so honorable and so decent and so trustworthy that he simply helped to heal the nation and refill that reservoir of trust and serve the country so well and so honorably.
Can you say those, can you attach those three qualities to George W. Bush, honorable, decent, trustworthy?
You can. George W. Bush is very different from the public perception of him. He's much more what he seemed to be on his latest book tour after his book came out. He is informal, he's intelligent, he's probing, and he's a sensitive person. And I talk about some of the incidents in my book about his sensitivity and thoughtfulness. I should also add that he had an ability to develop good relationships with foreign leaders, and they ended up trusting him because of his manner, his demeanor, his informality.
In fact, you met with many of those world leaders, too, Vladimir Putin, Margaret Thatcher, we're going to learn about in your book, and Saddam Hussein before he was Saddam Insane, if you want to call him that. I mean, you went face-to-face with him. Why do you think, when it came down to it, he refused to let the UN weapons inspectors do their job. That was ultimately his undoing, wasn't it?
It was. I did. When I was President Ronald Reagan's Middle East envoy, I spent time meeting all over the Middle East, but I did meet with Saddam Hussein when he was president of Iraq. The only thing I can think of is that when the combat operations ended in Iraq, there was an Iraq survey group that went in to determine what went on inside of Iraq with respect to weapons of mass destruction. And what they found was that Saddam Hussein, they didn't find large stockpiles of chemical or biological weapons. What they found was that Saddam Hussein still had the people together who had the capability of developing these weapons and who had done it previously. And he still had the precursors needed, and he had dual-use facilities. The Dulfer report contends that Saddam Hussein had the ability to ramp up chemical and biological weapons within a matter of several weeks. So I'm sure that the reason he wouldn't let the UN in was that he, of course, to get rid of weapons of mass destruction, you have to be very careful, and it takes some time. But to develop them, you can do it rather rapidly. And he simply was afraid that at some point the inspectors would find something. So apparently he either disposed of them or moved them or buried them. But they were not found. But he kept the ability to rapidly develop those stockpiles. And he clearly he's a man who had used chemical weapons against his enemies. He'd used them against his own people. So he was a threat, unquestionably, and the world's a better place with him gone.
Just a minute left in our time together before you appear tonight at the Ford Museum in Grand Rapids, and that question is, let's leave Bob Woodward out of it for the moment, but when you look on the internet and you see the kind of blogging that goes on, it's vicious sometimes towards someone like you. When you're out in public, do you have people walk up to you and give you an earful?
I have, I would guess it's 40 to 1 positive. People walk up and want to take a picture or shake my hand or compliment me or thank me for helping to keep America safe. If you think about it, there are people demonstrating all over our country right now. They're demonstrating in Wisconsin. They're demonstrating in Ohio. They're demonstrating in Washington. That's the nature of our society. People feel strongly about things. And there's a lot of misinformation floating around out there. That's why I took 4 years and wrote the book. But I did one other thing. I created a website with over 2,500 documents on it that support the book. And I think if people will read the book, people seriously interested in history and how decisions are made, they'll find that what's in the book is accurate, and that the popular narrative out there that in some cases people believe and are bothered by is not accurate.
Thank you very much for the time, Mr. Secretary. I know it's valuable. Have fun, and welcome to Michigan.
Thank you so much.
Well, the first meeting of the morning for the Space Shuttle Discovery crew is often very interesting because they wake them up, from Houston. They send a wake-up call up there, and sometimes they use music. And it got underway this morning, 3:30 Eastern Time, when the astronauts got a special wake-up call from NASA. Here it was. That's the song Blue Sky by Big Head Todd and the Monsters. Believe it or not, that was the winner over scores of other musical selections. They had a wake-up call music contest sponsored by NASA, the space agency. The shuttle is going to land in Florida tomorrow at 11:58 a.m. Eastern Time after we go off the air. And then just a few hours later, the ground teams are going to roll out the sister ship Endeavour, and that'll be that final mission for Endeavour on April 19th. Now, what was the significance of today's wake-up call? Blue Sky by Big Head Todd and the Monsters? NASA's got an answer for that, too.
More than 2.4 million people voted in the 4 months that contest was going on, and more than 700,000 of them voted for Blue Sky, giving it the most votes and earning it a spot on the wake-up song playlist for STS-133.
Well, how do you like that? Who knew? Meanwhile, there was another survey done by the AARP, the American Association of Retired People, and that survey shows that Healthcare and economic issues top the list of Michigan seniors. Scott Wilkerson is on the other end of our line this morning, the president and CEO of PHP. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Probably doesn't surprise you, I'm guessing, that the number one problem that older Americans are worried about is health care, does it?
No, it doesn't. They need access to health care on a fairly frequent basis.
So PHP is involved in something that will allow older people, people with health issues, people who maybe couldn't otherwise have received insurance to do that. Tell me about it.
Well, sure. We're the administrators of the HIP Michigan, which is the Health Insurance Program for Michigan. It's a program for senior citizens or really any Michigan resident of any age that provides health insurance to those who have not had health insurance for the last 6 months and who have some type of pre-existing health condition.
Previously, only Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, the insurer of last resort in the state, did that. But now this is under the new health care reform law that makes insurance accessible through more than just one platform. Do I have that right?
Well, this is a slightly different program. Certainly, the Blue Cross product was available to really any Michigan resident, as you mentioned. This program, though, provides insurance without any limitations on pre-existing conditions. So if you have a medical condition and you're getting access to the insurance program, those services for the coverage of that pre-existing condition are fully covered during the first 6 months.
I see. So obviously we want to encourage people to have insurance before they have a condition. Maybe even in some cases active involvement in their health care can stave off certain conditions. But it's a safety net in case they find themselves without insurance. Where's the balance? In other words, you want people to join up now ahead of any sort of cataclysmic problem, don't you?
Absolutely. We find that there's lots of people out there that have some type of health condition. We're talking about diabetes, Parkinson's disease, cancer, heart issues, sickle cell anemia, that for one reason or another can't get into the system to get the care they need. They've got a job, but they may not have access to employer-based health insurance. And this is where this program really comes into play, because they're going to pay premiums to get the insurance, but the premiums are significantly subsidized as part of this health care reform program called HIP Michigan.
I see. Is there a web address or a phone number where people can learn more?
There is. It's hipmichigan.com, and it'll provide you all the information about the types of illnesses or conditions that are covered, provide information on the rates. The rates start for as little as $170 a month, and it provides full access to physician office services, hospital-based services, pharmaceuticals, and the website goes and takes you through all this information.
That's HIP Michigan is what Scott Wilkerson is talking about. Travel safely this morning. He's the president and CEO of PHP. Coming up shortly, we'll have a little preview of the Republican presidential candidates, and it's Punchki Day, Mardi Gras Day, Shrove Tuesday, Fat Tuesday, if you will. The day before Ash Wednesday, we'll go to the New Palace Bakery in Hamtramck, where they always cheer us up. Gary Austin said earlier in the news that Michigan was the least happy state in the country, according to a survey. Hawaii was number one for most happy. Well, that's pretty easy to see why. You got sunshine out there all the time and the ocean, and when there's good surf, everybody doesn't bother going to work and nobody cares. But here in Michigan, we take things a little more seriously, and maybe that's why we're not as happy. But we'll cheer you up with the New Palace Bakery and the whole Punchki tradition. And then later, we're going to talk to Bill Simonson, who was in the gym yesterday when Fenville High School extended their winning streak without their star, who died tragically last week. That's all coming up shortly this morning. It's Michael Patrick Shields on a Grand Traverse Tuesday, sponsored by the Traverse City Convention and Visitors Bureau. We're live at the American Metal Roost Studio right here on Michigan Avenue, just a couple blocks from the Capitol. Well, you don't have to guess, because if you're watching on Fox 47, you can see them right here on television. If you're listening on the radio, I'll introduce John Truscott and Kelly Rossman. John is the president of the Truscott Rossman Group, and Kelly Rossman is the president of the Truscott Rossman Group?
Yeah, I'm CEO. He's president.
Okay.
Chief Estrogen Officer.
Oh my God! I'm glad you said
I'm
that.
surrounded. I can't
Really?
take it away. Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yep.
Well, this tradition now. How many years now have you been having the Punchki party on
Is it
Fat
the
Tuesday?
13th? I think it's the 13th.
Lucky 13.
Yeah.
And from all 13 of those years, John Truscott was a guest. Now, does he get a knife and he get to quarter up those punchkis like you do?
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be going down the street right now.
She just wanted me, and now I get to help pay for it.
Where is the event this year?
It's this year. We're stepping it up. We're at Tropos.
In the in sight of the Capitol.
Yes, exactly. You know, last year we were right next door to the
Yeah.
studio here, and we were so jam-packed.
It
Folks
was
were
crowded.
uncomfortable. For years before that, we were at the Rossman Group building over
In
on
the
North
tent.
Washington. In the tent. In the house, actually, the first year we were in the house, and there were about 30 of us.
It's a popular event. Do you expect an appearance maybe from the governor this morning?
Ooh, geez, no.
He's tough to get, isn't
He's
he?
kind of busy.
He doesn't play ball too much with things like this, does he?
With things like this, so that's a good question. Does he play ball? I don't view it as a playing the ball. He does not play what I would consider the schmooze scene.
Yeah, he's busy, right? That's his MO.
Yeah, but you
isn't
know,
it?
we've seen him at a number of recent events where he's shown up to promote the budget or appear and thank people for certain things, and he's really good working a crowd. I mean, he
Right.
doesn't
Yes,
doesn't
yeah,
go
that's true.
overboard to really show up and do the kind of the typical things around town here that you'd think, but when he gets into a crowd, he really has them captivated, and he does it with no notes, no staff following him around. I mean, it's pretty impressive to watch.
In fact, we're sort of stunned that there are so few staff following him around
Yeah.
to make sure. Well, just to make sure things, the follow-up gets done. That's a lot of what being a governor is kind of following up on everything people talk to you about. Oh, I don't see him taking notes, but the man's got a mind like a steel trap.
You've owned Punchki Day. You made that your holiday.
I've owned Punchki
Why?
Day.
Why Punchki Day?
Well, first of all, let me just say, of course, I don't own Punchki Day. It's been
But you
going
know what
on
I mean.
for a real. Yeah, I mean, this event is sort
Just
of
like I
our
own St.
signature.
Patrick's Day.
Yeah, of course you do.
You got to pick a holiday, right?
Well, years ago, I worked at Channel 4 in Detroit. And in Detroit, as you well know, they make a very, very big deal about
Yeah.
Punchki Day. And we did live shots in Hamtramck and all kinds of things. And I got here, and people really didn't do anything with Punchki Day. And one day we decided, hey, you know what? Let's make this a little thing. You know, it's at that year, I think it was coming up on February. It was gray. It was dreary, as if March here today is any different.
Yeah.
We decided to just step it up and do something fun.
This really has become one of the go-to events in town. I mean, Kelly created it, grew it, and moved it around a couple of different places. But no matter where it's been, it's just one of those great stops on the way into the office, and people come by, have a cup of coffee, and grab Punchki and hang around, chat for 20 minutes, and then off to work. And it really does, I think, start the day well for people. Everybody's in a very good mood, and then you go off to your day of work.
There's some whimsy to it.
There is whimsy, and in fact, these lovely Punchki beads that all three of us are wearing, we
Yes.
have our logo and the year, because it turns out we discovered people collect these.
Sure.
You will find
So
a
that
number
little
of
plate of
people,
Punchki.
exactly, a plate of Punchkis. You'll find people around the Capitol wearing these. Some folks are too cool to wear beads all day. Others are even cooler and wear the beads
So you
all
wear the
day.
beads today, and tomorrow you walk around with the ashes on your forehead.
Some folks do, yeah.
And tomorrow morning, some people will have a hangover because this is after all the Mardi Gras day. We're going to go live to New
No.
Orleans a little later.
Oh,
Then,
how
they're
fun.
going to go through the night tonight, right until the last minute. Part of the charm too is that there's a lot of headbanging that goes on down the street between Republicans and Democrats, and when they can have a little fun under the guise of something like this, where it's not to be worried about who you're talking to or who saw you talking, that's your opponent, that kind of. That's part of it.
I think people check their partisanship at the door. I mean, people are just here to have a good time, and there are a lot of events now where you can easily put partisanship aside and people just get along, they get to know each other a little better, and that's probably one of the downfalls of term limits is people really don't build those relationships. It's events like this that allow those relationships to help develop and kind of foster that growth and that friendship.
So what's your sense on the mood so far at the Capitol?
Well, it depends on if you're inside the Capitol or outside the Capitol. I think the mood inside the Capitol is very much, we've got to figure this stuff out. The governor has presented a lot of recommendations. Here's the recommended budget. outside the Capitol, there's a lot of angst, and as we will see today, yet another demonstration about folks who are concerned about their particular issue. And the challenge this governor has, and it's actually very energizing to watch, is that he has no, he's not beholden to anybody but, in his mind, the people of the state of Michigan. So it could be labor or business. It doesn't matter whose ox it is. He's happy to gore it if in the long run it's good for the people of the state of Michigan.
John Truscott, one of the things that Kelly Rossman did before Michelle Obama made it fashionable is that when you go to this Punchki party, you've quartered the Punchkis so that people don't have to have a full Punchki, which I'm told is something like 800 calories. You very nicely
It's
chopped
just so
them
you
in
can
half.
taste all the different ones and not feel nearly as guilty about it.
Oh, is that what it is?
And we brought you a real nice selection here,
Oh
so
my
you
gosh.
could have yours
Exactly.
all day.
See, those
From
are the
Roma Bakery.
those are the tough ones because they have powder on them, and so there's evidence.
Well, in fact, that's why we quartered them initially. It was not out of concern for calories. It's my own vanity, and I didn't
See,
want powdered
you get
sugar.
ashes on your forehead and powder on your suit. Congratulations on the 13th annual Punchki Party and
You
what
bet.
seems to be a great partnership.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
All the best to Kelly Rossman and John Truscott. 3 minutes before the hour, Michael Patrick Shields.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Tuesday to you. It's Grand Traverse Tuesday, sponsored by the Traverse City Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we are here in our American Metal Roofs studio, just a couple blocks from the Capitol this morning, where I am told Governor Rick Snyder will sign his first two bills into law, House Bill 4212 and Senate Bill 122, strengthening the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program. We're going to learn more about that right now and other things political, since politics is our family business, with State Representative Wayne Schmidt, the Republican from Traverse City. Happy Traverse City Tuesday to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
Not far away from Pellston, the coldest spot in the state, Republican Frank Foster in his first term in the State House. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
And you brought along your chaperone, the two of you. Just kidding. State Representative Paul Opsimer from right here in DeWitt, also the Republican.
morning,
nice
Michael
to see you
Patrick.
again.
Good to see
The
you.
shortest commute to the Capitol of the three of you.
I do complain about that to my fellow colleagues all the time about my long drive.
Does he ever join you at the Hayford Street Barbecue just cuz?
Yes, he does.
Okay, that's a good spot. And we're
Yep.
going to start that up again, what?
Probably in
come
April.
April Fool's Day, something like that?
Probably a little bit later, a week or two after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Momentous, is it, just from a sort of ceremonial standpoint, that the governor's going to sign his first two bills into law?
It's a great day that we're starting to move forward on our agenda, that the first two bills are agriculturally related. I give a lot of credit to Chairman Kevin Daly to make sure that he got those bills through. It's exciting to see Governor Snyder recognize agriculture, and then on Thursday, he signs his third bill, which is Pure Michigan. So for us up north,
Which just happens to be Representative Schmidt's bill.
All right.
but we're very pleased to see that tourism, agriculture, that Governor Snyder recognizes those. With Frank here and of course Paul, a lot of agriculture down here. Very exciting. We're
Well, you
moving
hit
forward.
the top two of the top three industries, right, in Michigan, tourism and
Correct.
agriculture.
Yeah, it's about a $72 billion industry for agriculture that I think has been kind of neglected the last decade. And then we have an $18 billion tourism industry. And that's a huge economy, especially for where Wayne and I live. That's the lifeblood of the area.
One wonders if a lot of the fillings in the punchkis today that are going to be consumed across the state came perhaps from Michigan blueberries or cherries, right?
Sure.
So if you're
Definitely.
picking a flavor, maybe leave the prunes aside and go for the cherries and the blueberries. Would that make any sense?
Never mind. I didn't mean to look at you, Paul.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
Wow, that's harsh.
Wow.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Well, these guys from Traverse City are tough. Mike.
Cheeky, aren't they?
Yes.
What's keeping you busy?
You know, I'm actually pushing the urban cooperation bill. We had a committee hearing the past 2 weeks. We formed a work group. We're going to be working on a couple details, I think, this week, and I'm hoping that the chairman, Representative Olmette from the Ann Arbor area, will allow that to come up for a vote a week from Wednesday.
What does it do?
What it does is it actually preserves collective bargaining, but it allows local units of government to merge services in a cooperative way. Currently, the Urban Cooperation Act prevents that by putting mandates on how two cities or two villages or two townships can actually merge services.
Does that have to do with the protest that's going to go on at the Capitol today? Have you heard about
I
this?
think they're looking at, the Senate has up for a vote today the Emergency Financial Manager bill, and that's what they're protesting. But they also were in 2 weeks ago to protest the Urban Cooperation Act.
because, what did you call it? Consolidation and cooperation might both start with a C, but they don't go very well together, do they?
Well, they can go together,
Can
but
they?
the bill itself doesn't encourage cooperation nor consolidation. It actually puts mandates on cities and townships and makes that process more expensive. And we're trying to reduce that, expense for cities.
I want to just, this is kind of off topic, but it is a topic that a lot of people are talking about today. And if you wouldn't mind putting your headphones on, we have the availability here to speak to Bill Simonson. He's known as Huge, and he's got a statewide radio program in the afternoon that covers sports. But what Huge covered the yesterday and the all of last week, for the most part, was not really sports. It was a very human story out of Fennville near Holland, Michigan, where you understand by now it made national news that perfect season was kept perfect, 20-0 for the Fennville basketball team by Wes Leonard, the star of the team, who then inexplicably collapsed on the court and died and put the entire community into shock. They had some discussions about whether to go ahead with the state playoffs. They decided to do that, and yesterday, sold out, Hope College's DeVos Fieldhouse in Holland. 3,500 people, as I understand, were there, and they saw Fennville win 65-54. The funeral today will be in Holland for Wes Leonard, but Bill Simonson's covered the story closer than anybody that I could see on a national or a local level, and was there yesterday. Thanks for being available this morning.
Hey, Michael, I do appreciate coming on, I appreciate you having me come on, because I have to tell you something. And, Michael, I know you've been to some of the great sporting events in the world, and I will tell you that for one night, to be in that building in Holland, Michigan last night, and the emotion, which was just dripping from the ceiling. I've never been a part of anything even close. It seems like a movie script, but it's tragic, it's triumph, it's real. It's tough to put into words, because you had to be there to see a small town of Fennville of 1,404 people in Allegan County on the west side of the state come together. The sportsmanship of Lawrence High School to give up the home game, what Hope College did to help these schools handle the most media requests. John Johnson from the Michigan High School Athletic Association, 24 years on the job, has never had more media requests for any Michigan high school sporting event than they had last night. And then Fennville comes out. They walk out of the locker room. They're led by Mitchell Leonard, the 8th grade brother who looks like the spitting image of Wes Leonard, who died on the court last Thursday night. They walk out. He has a white T-shirt. The team has black T-shirts with Leonard and his number. Lawrence comes out. They're wearing the same black T-shirts. There's not a dry eye in the house. Media standing up, clapping. Again, it seems surreal. It seemed like a movie, but it was real. And it's what's great about America, Michael, because you're on in small towns, you're on in big towns. You're in Lansing, where politicians are from big cities and small cities. But how we come together when there's tragedy, and how it can turn into triumph, at least for a night, was, I've always said, boy, a Super Bowl or Final Four or World Series or going to Augusta. But what happened last night is almost beyond words.
Fennville, as I understand, started the game with only 4 players.
Yeah, they did the 4 players, and then they did the ceremonial buzzer in, with someone coming in. They only announced 4 players in their starting lineup, and then they brought in the 5th player, because part of that was ceremonial, and also part of it was they didn't want to put the pressure on the kid who was replacing Wes Leonard in the starting lineup. And, man, the scene, 3,500, if you go to MLive.com, Michael, I saw the ESPN Sports Center report last night. You need to go see the pictures inside that building. I left, and you get your card, and you start up your vehicle, and I'm driving out of Holland, and you couldn't help but, shed a few tears, because, man, they're 21-0. They're going to play Wednesday. They have to go to the funeral for Wes Leonard today. I mean, if you think about this, Michael, he died on the court in front of him, basically, went into cardiac arrest, never recovered on Thursday night. They have grief counselors all night long. They go to the coach's house on that Friday morning. They deal with press conferences. They deal with America just wanting to hug them like everyone else. Saturday, they have a practice. They decide to continue their season. The Leonard family, they really asked them if they wanted the basketball team to continue. Sunday, 1,400 people, basically the entire population of Fenville and more, comes out for visitation. Monday, they find a way to go play a game. This morning, they will find the inner strength to go attend the funeral for their fallen teammate. And then they're going to turn around and they're going to play a district game on Wednesday against Bangor, I think is on their schedule in the Class C tournament here in the state of Michigan. You know what? Those kids, it's a life lesson learned from a distance. They've shown a lot of us, character strength. It's not made up. It's real. No one's exploiting this. No one's exaggerating this. It is one of the most incredible 4 days I've ever seen from any sports team ever in my life. 19 years of doing a talk show. You're so touched by what Fenville has done, what the people in Fenville have done, what Lawrence did last night. Michael, it makes you feel good about the state of Michigan.
We will tune in tonight between 3 and 6 to the huge show all across Michigan for further details, and we appreciate you getting up this morning after a long night yesterday. Bill Huge Simonson was there yesterday as Fenville, now 21-0, in an emotional win over Lawrence, and now the story is making national news, obviously, and touching hearts across Michigan and all across the world, too. 18 minutes after the hour, it's Michael Patrick Shields on Tuesday. Yeah, the party is on in New Orleans. It's Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras, what does that mean? Translated from French, it means Fat Tuesday, which is the day before Ash Wednesday. And Fat Tuesday is also called Shrove Tuesday or Punchki Day in some parts, just like at the New Palace Bakery in Hamtramck, where this morning, this is Punchki, capital of Michigan, in that Polish enclave. Good morning, Susie. How are you?
Good morning. Good.
It's
Thank
always
you. How
a
are you?
great tradition to talk to you on this day. Would you give us a beautiful, long Punchki Day greeting in Polish, if you would, please?
Oh, I'll have to say smacznego. That means kind of like bon appetit, but in Polish.
I can hear the crowd in the background there already. How many Punchki will you put out today?
Well, we don't have an exact number. We're just making them and selling them as we're making them. So they're getting them warm today.
Hand over fist. They're getting them warm today. That's
oh, yeah.
Because they were, how early were people standing in line outside the New Palace Bakery?
Well, we opened at 3 a.m., and there was a line at 3 a.m. Waiting. And while we were doing orders, for our 3 a.m. orders, there was customers that were trying to sneak in, but we said 3 o'clock is when we open. So
It's a festival atmosphere. Have you? Do people mostly get the traditional Punchki, or do they want new flavors every year?
We have a variety. A lot of the customers, they like the traditional, and then they'll try a few of the ones with the double flavors or triple flavors.
Yeah.
This year we have a new flavor. It's called our Pink Ribbon, and the reason why we have that is because today is Punchki Day, and it's also March 8th, which is International Women's Day.
All right.
So we're doing something we're going to be donating money for breast cancer research.
Wow.
So we have a punchek for that.
A punchek.
Uh-huh. Punchek is singular for punchki.
So we've been saying it wrong.
Yep.
It should be Punchek Day or Punchki Day. So if you want to have a punchek, that's okay. If you want to have Punchki, that's more than one. Most people have more than one, don't they?
Yes.
And then they
That's
go.
okay though. Either way, we understand. A lot of us say punchki too.
And then they go right to sleep. They eat 2 of those and pass out, right?
No, it'll give you energy.
Oh, the sugar burst. I know they ask you every year. We ask you how many calories are in a single punchek, and you don't want to reveal that, do you?
Calories? We don't count calories today. It's Fat Tuesday.
That's right. Who cares? Tomorrow.
Do you want to hear from our customers?
Would love to. It's a tradition.
Okay, great. It's a tradition, right?
Yes, indeed.
Hold on 1 second.
All right. Listen to them.
Everybody say happy Punchki Day on the count of 3. Radio station. 1, 2, 3. Happy Thank you.
Dziękuję, Susie, at the New Palace Bakery, and have a great time there. And tell your
I'm having a hard time hearing you. Right
yeah,
now.
I said Dziękuję and Jak Shamash to everybody there at the New Palace Bakery, and tell
Dziękuję.
them their voices were just heard all across the state of Michigan and seen on television.
Great.
All the best to you at the New Palace Bakery. It is a tradition, indeed, in Hamtramck, that Polish enclave. Another Polish enclave is Wyandotte, Michigan. And Wyandotte, Michigan is where I grew up. It's a little town. It's 2 miles by 2 miles along the Detroit River south of Detroit. It's tiny, tinier than even Holt. And, if you go there, in addition to being on the river, they have more bars per capita, according to the Guinness Book of Record, than any other town in the world. I'm not making this up. And the guy who can confirm this is on the other end of our line right now, and he's a big star golfer from the PGA Tour. His name is Justin Hicks, who I understand comes from Wyandotte, too. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
I didn't know that you were from. Where did you grow up in Wyandotte? What street?
Well, I was actually just born in the hospital there in Wyandotte, but I lived in Riverview, which is an adjacent city to Wyandotte there.
Yeah.
Probably till I was about 12 or 13 years old, and then we moved to another area right there called Grosse Ile, which is the island just off of Wyandotte.
Okay, now wait just a minute. I was born in Wyandotte Hospital, and you're on the PGA Tour. Are you sure we weren't switched at birth? Because you got the dream job.
Yeah, no, it's certainly a fun thing to do for a living, but it's like anything else. I think it really is work, and there's a lot of travel and things that go into it that I think a lot of people don't necessarily always know about.
Yeah, whenever I play with someone and they say, "Oh, I'd like to be on the PGA Tour," I say to them, "Could you hit 1,000 golf balls a day and practice for 9 hours, focusing on every single shot?" And they say, "Well, how many trips to the bar do I get in between?" And I'd say 0. I interviewed Sayri Pak in Toledo one time, and she said she had 9-hour practice sessions when she wasn't competing. Is it that way for you too?
I wouldn't say I necessarily have 9-hour practice sessions, but it's not very uncommon to spend a full day at the golf course where you're playing and practicing before and after your round, and it can encompass the better part of like even a 12-hour day, 7 to 7 or something. So
yeah.
It certainly is a very time-consuming process, because just playing golf in general, usually in a tournament round, takes a better part of about 5 hours, and typically there's an hour and a half warm-up session that goes into play, and a lot of times afterwards you can spend as much as you want or as little as you want, try to prepare for the next day. So typically, there might be another hour or so of work on an average day, but if you're really trying to work on something, your teacher might be there to kind of work with you on some things or whatever too. It could be 2-3 hours sometimes.
Did you I grew up playing on the Riverview golf course there, the 3 9s that they had, and then I caddied at Grosse Ile. Were those your stomping grounds?
That's exactly right. I first started, I was right around 6 or so. My parents used to take me out to Riverview, and I'd play along with them. And then I was fortunate enough, my dad actually got a membership at Grosse Ile Golf and Country Club there through his company, and that became really kind of my home, where I played a lot of golf in the summertime there. They just kind of would drop me off in the mornings and pick me up at night, and knew that I was staying out of trouble because I had nothing but my clubs and some golf balls to kind of poke around with. So.
And good old Steve Horvat and Jim Coleman there would crack down on you if you misbehaved.
That's exactly right.
Down there at the end. And Bud Lynch was around, too. I know you're a Red Wing fan, and Bud Lynch, the one-armed bandit who was the announcer for the Red Wings for all those years and a member at Grosse Ile, he must have been smiling when he found out you won the Ford Wayne Gretzky Classic of all tournaments, being a hockey fan.
Yeah, I hope he was. Unfortunately, I was pretty young when I was there at Grosse Ile and didn't have a chance to really get to know a lot of the members, but I certainly had a chance to meet Bud, and I know that he had a prolific career as an announcer there with the Wings and everything. So, but yeah, I'm certain that there was a lot of people there that were glad to see that I won that tournament.
And Wayne Gretzky, I presume, was there. That must have been a gas to meet him, right?
Yeah, no, he presented me a jersey on the 18th green, so I got to meet him, and he signed it for me and everything else, too. So, yeah, it's always nice to meet somebody that goes down in history as a great one.
Boy, that PGA National course this weekend, you finished 17th in the Honda Classic in a typically difficult golf course in windy conditions. That's some tough playing.
Yeah, it's a golf course that I'm somewhat familiar with because when I first moved to Florida from Michigan, I actually started out working there part-time as a place to have some golf courses to play and practice at. So I had the ability to kind of have some local knowledge in Florida, believe it or not. And so I had some ideas to what to expect with some of that, but the winds were they were some of the most fiercest winds I've ever seen in competition, quite honestly. And it proved to be a very difficult golf course for everybody. And unfortunately, I think some of that local knowledge really helped me out.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a rookie on the PGA Tour, but he's 36 years old. So he's been through, as you can hear, the wars of the Nationwide Tour and mini tours, and now at 36. Do you feel like maybe with all that experience behind you, you're better poised to compete on the tour than you would have been at age, let's say, 22?
You know, there's a lot of ways of looking at it. Some people might say that I've seen a lot more, so I might stand out there and I have a lot more skeletons in my closet, so to speak. and in other ways, you know, it's all, I think, the way of how you frame it. I mean, certainly I'd like to think of it as I've seen a lot of things and been around the block a little bit. So for me, you know, that knowledge and wisdom, so to speak, should help me out better than somebody per se that might be 25 and a rookie on the PGA Tour. And you know, like for instance, on Sunday. Just a couple days ago, we played with Lee Westwood, who was, until I think last week, ranked the #1 player in the world. And I think had I been maybe a little bit younger, I might have had a little tougher time with it. But we actually, you know, decided to show up and face the challenge straight on, and we played with him and played quite well and beat him. So.
Yeah, you wiped the grass with him. Good, good work. Now I'm going to be speaking to the Wyandotte Rotary Club today, if you can believe that. I'm giving the lunchtime speech, so I will mention your name in Wyandotte, and I will tell them where you are. Where are you playing next?
I'm actually in Puerto Rico right now. We have a tournament down here just east of San Juan.
Yep.
At Donald Trump's golf course here, and I haven't had a chance to get out there other than just fly in yesterday and take a look at the putting green and stuff like that. But I think today we're going to have a chance to see it, and it looks like a beautiful place. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I covered that event a couple of years ago when it was brand new. Say hi to the Donald, too, if he makes an appearance there today. And we'll be following you. The state of Michigan is behind Justin Hicks, one of our favorite sons at the age of 36, a rookie on the PGA Tour. Break a leg, Justin, and we'll keep in touch. 35 minutes after the hour, Ben Wright, the former CBS golf analyst, will be with us later in the program. We'll be back in 4 minutes. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Well, so far on this Punchki Day or Fat Tuesday or Shrove Tuesday, we've checked in with the New Palace Bakery in Hamtramck, Michigan, and we've also talked to Greg Garner at Sweetwater's Donut Mill in Kalamazoo. We'll be going live to Traverse City coming up later, too, on a Traverse City Tuesday to see how many punchki. Now, we found out the singular is punchek. And none of these bakers will tell us how many calories are in one of these punch. They don't want anybody to know. They say, who cares? After all, it's Fat Tuesday. That's what it's for. It's the day before Ash Wednesday when we all start Lent, and that means fasting and, watching giving things up, like punchek or punchki, which is, they do admit, though, that it's more than just a donut. There's more to it than a donut. It's more rich, and so eat carefully, if you will, this morning, or don't, because it's Fat Tuesday after all. But at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, everybody winces. All 7,000 employees go, ooh, really, Fat Tuesday? Is that what you really want to call it? And Andy Hetzel is with us, the Vice President of Corporate Communications for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. Great to be with you today.
Will you abstain from a punchki today, or will you get in the tradition and at least have a bite?
I'm half Polish, Michael Patrick, so it's tough for me to resist, but I've had my granola and blueberries today. And, people are going to want to punch me to talk about National Nutrition Month today, but that's what I'm here to talk about.
Well, it kind of goes well together, because the secret is what you just said. It's your tradition. You're probably going to have at least a nibble of it, and you're going to do it in moderation. That's really the bottom line, isn't it?
Sure it is, and everybody needs to eat and drink in moderation. And I know we have a holiday that's near and dear to your heart coming up, and moderation is the key to success in anything that you do, including what you put in your body. But it is National Nutrition Month in March. It's a little bit of an ironic time to have the holiday around it, but we have an obesity problem in the United States and Michigan, as we've talked about before, Michael Patrick, and we're trying to get the word out that to people that, what they put into their bodies, they have to be aware of, they have to be cognizant of calorie count, and, especially if they're not as active as they otherwise might be. Just watch what you put in your body. It's very important.
There are people who are going to start fasting tomorrow for Ash Wednesday and for Lent, and maybe they're going to have a weight-related goal. Maybe they had one at New Year's, too, and maybe they didn't stick with it. I notice in the notes that you sent about this National Nutrition Month, one of the easiest things you can do when you talk about putting things in your body to lose weight doesn't have to do with chewing at all. It has to do with drinking.
That's right. And if you want to give up something for Lent, soda or pop is a great thing to give up. You can cut about 6,000 calories a month if you drink pop on a regular basis. You can cut 6,000 calories a month from your diet just by replacing pop with water. And that is an amazing amount of calories.
Yeah, I mean, 6,000 that's got to be like about 6 small pizzas almost, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's equivalent to that. And it's, a pop is something that somebody grabs during the middle of the day or, drinks in the car when they're driving someplace. If you just replace it with some water, a bottle of water that you can refill, you can take out a significant amount of calories. And you know what that does, Michael, is if you are moderating your intake, you can enjoy other things. You can enjoy higher calorie foods. You can enjoy, a nice lunch or a dinner just by taking that pop out of your diet. So that's, an easy thing for somebody.
And I don't know the science involved, but I have been told and read a number of times that when you drink diet soda even, it makes you hungrier for some reason. I don't know if it's because of the empty calories or what the deal is, but I have read that too.
Yeah, I don't know the science around that as well as I probably should, Michael Patrick, but people this month should focus obviously on the holiday and the approach of Easter, and all the great things around that for their families. But we should also focus every month on our bodies and what we can do through moderate exercise and moderate intake of calories to really help us become healthier. We've got a significant obesity problem in the country. I mean, we have more than 1/3 of the adults in the U.S. are obese. And it's an epidemic across the nation, and we have to take personal responsibility, all of us, for what we do, because it's really driving up healthcare costs. I mean, obesity is a $280 billion economic problem in this country every year, and that's a lot of cost. I mean, both in healthcare costs and lost productivity. So, if we take a little bit more responsibility, we can go a long way.
Amanda Wall, you married a Catholic, Mike McGarry.
I did marry a Catholic.
So
yes.
Lent starts tomorrow, Ash Wednesday. Right?
Does it?
It does. And would you take the pledge with me, since you married a Catholic, to go the entire Lenten season without a diet or regular pop?
I will not.
Why won't you do that?
Because
come on, Amanda.
If you can do it, lots of people can do it.
I'll tell you what I will do. I promise to start drinking water every day.
1 water for every diet?
No. I promise to start drinking water every day.
But why not say, if I'm going to have 1 can of diet, Andy, and then 1 can of water to offset it?
I can't believe Miss Amanda just admitted on the air that she doesn't drink any water.
She doesn't.
Come on, Amanda.
I didn't say I don't drink. I'd say I don't drink it as often as I should.
She hardly drinks any
water.
water.
That's an important staple, Michael Patrick, of anybody's diet, regardless of whether or not they replace soda with water. You got to drink water every day.
It's the stuff of life is what it is, even if it comes in ice cubes, even if it comes in an occasional Irish whiskey. I'm going to take the pledge. No soda pop, no diet pop for the entire Lent, and I'm going to try to lose 40 pounds in the 40 days of Lent. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it with the help of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan by going onto their website, and I'm going to be walking, too. I'm going to do all that, and Easter, I'm going to be not half. I'm going to be 1/8 of the man I was with no diet pop. Thanks for the inspiration on this Punchki Day. Andy Hetzel, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Nutrition Month. And you're listening to the sounds of Punchki Day, Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras, little polka music, because around the state of Michigan and enclaves like Hamtramck and Wyandotte, and I'm sure certain parts of mid-Michigan, and certainly, Boyne City, there's a big Polish festival there every summer, and Mary Stucco is with us from Farm Bureau Insurance with a special
morning.
delivery today.
I brought you some punchkis. I'm a Polish gal,
Yeah.
so I grew up with these. Grandma used to make them when I was little. And
Homemade.
So we make this one of our national holidays.
Yeah, so you brought a little box. We learned earlier that it's a punchek is the plural. What's your favorite flavor?
Boy, I like a lot of them, but I think anything Roma makes is pretty good.
Do you eat the prune ones?
No, I've never had the prune
They
one.
tell me
just-
that's the traditional flavor.
It is. It is. That's what they used to make. But no, I think I like raspberry the best.
All right. And then Chuck Moss, the governor, later today is going to sign an agricultural bill, as I understand it, one from the Senate, one from the House. And heck, if we had Michigan cherries or blueberries in a punchek, that would be pretty patriotic, wouldn't it?
I think Michigan cherries would be great. I like strawberry punchkis. Down my neck of the woods, there's no lack of Polish Americans, and Punchki Day is a big deal. And oh yeah, absolutely. Strawberry, but I think Michigan cherry punchki would be fabulous.
Yeah, yeah. On a Traverse City Tuesday, that would be perfect. In fact, now they won't serve these in schools because Michelle Obama would have a handstand if they found out.
Well, I generally don't govern my conduct by what Michelle Obama would like. She certainly can eat anything she wants to or not, but.
You don't have to ask the governor what he's giving up for Lent because, after all, the whole state's giving up if we go by his budget, right? We're all going to cut back.
Well, we're all cutting back, yeah, but we're not going to give up punchkis. This is in the private sector. You can buy as many punchki. In fact, I would urge stimulate Michigan business by buying Michigan punchkis.
Have you been paying attention at all to the Republican presidential horse race that's kind of really getting started now?
Nah.
You really haven't?
No, it's too early. It's like Abraham Lincoln. What would you say if the election were held today? I'd be real surprised because the election's not going to be held till next November.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think it's way too early
You
for
do?
me. Yeah, sure.
The media loves it. We love it.
Well, yeah, I imagine you would, but I'm not paying much attention to it. Believe it or not, I'm not paying much attention to anything besides getting this budget done.
Let me just ask you about Donald Trump because it's
Donald Trump.
He's polling reasonably well among possible Republican presidential candidates.
Well, he doesn't have any problem looking at people and saying, you're fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, Donald Trump. I mean, doesn't he run? He runs like every few years. It's a good
threatens
publicity
to.
for him. Yeah, it's one step above Tiger Blood and Adonis DNA. And all that,
winning.
Oh, boy. Yeah, winning. Yeah, winning. He's Donald Trump. I don't think he's a
Serious candidate. Newt Gingrich?
Newt's, that's a 90s thing. It's like,
He's passé.
I think so.
Is Mitt Romney already passé?
No.
No?
Mitt's in there. No.
Is he?
Mitt's got a lot to, Mitt, I like Mitt. He's a great guy, comes from Bloomfield Hills. I'd like to see what he has to offer. He didn't do it last time, but who knows? I like.
The others lining up are Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty, former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum, and Buddy Roemer, the former Louisiana governor. Any of those float your boat?
I don't know, but it's sort of like imagine that this is early 1979. Who saw Ronald Reagan? We'll see how this thing in Wisconsin pans out. If it works, Walker might actually have some legs.
Isn't that something?
Mitch Daniels down in Indiana is another one that's been mentioned. Don't count Sarah Palin out. I do think John McCain's probably not going to be in it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Let me ask you something now. The economy. They say it's the economy, stupid. They've been saying that.
Or it's a stupid economy, either way.
Yeah. But all of the candidates that we're talking about, let's throw Haley Barbour in there, too, for the heck of it. All are sort of domestic kind of guys. Their message is domestic. We see what's going on in the world right now. We see that Saudi Arabia might be the next country to have an uprising, and the market is scared to death, and the gas prices are going up.
Yeah.
If Saudi Arabia has unrest, I'm scared. Aren't you?
You should be scared right now, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, 2% of the world's oil supply comes from Libya. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it's not a particularly elastic supply. We've been prevented from exploiting American oil. We've also been prevented for years from expanding our refinery capacity, and that was a big bottleneck back in 08 and all. Is that you could bring the crude in, but you got to refine it. It's time to get serious about domestic oil supply and freeing ourselves from foreign oil supply. But
Could
that
we
also
change
means
world politics by drilling in Alaska?
I don't know if we could change world politics, but we could sure deal with the market and you know, become less dependent on stuff. But you see, it's not just us. Back in the 70s and all that, you didn't have China and you didn't have India, and those guys are expanding at a rapid rate. So even if the Middle East was as perfect, peaceful, like Switzerland, it would still be a problem because these economies are growing at such a pace that they're going to bid up oil. China doesn't have a ton of oil. I don't know that India has any. But the bottom line here is that we're going to have to just start not just drilling, but we've got to be able to refine it, turn it into gasoline, and get rid of a lot of the red tape.
How many years process is that, you think?
Well, right now they've shut it down. They built the Empire State Building in a year. It could be done. Yeah, if we wanted to do it. You just have to decide you want to do it and then do it.
But then the people who saw what happened in the Gulf say, we imagine that in Alaska.
Yeah, well, if you, it's like Chernobyl. You take something and run it to the max and ignore safety procedures, it'll blow up. That's so it's like nuclear power. There's an organization that's had over half a century of error-free nuclear power. It's the U.S. Navy. Just have to do it right.
Thank you very much,
My
State
pleasure.
Representative
Happy
Chuck
Punchki Day.
Happy Punchki Day. And
What are you giving up for lunch?
I'm not going to drink any soda pop, and I'm going to lose 40 pounds in 40 days.
That's good.
That's my effort.
Yeah, this is Midwest. We call it pop, not soda.
That's right. Television viewers, thanks for being with us. Radio listeners, another hour of this right after the news. It's Michael Patrick Shields.